It is? Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to CreateAWorld. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Almost reminds me of doing Legos and creating a whole new. My grandchildren have always shown me how they create new worlds with Legos. And we're not going to be using Legos today, but we are going to be talking about what it means to, from our perspective, what it means to create a world. First of all, what is CreateAWorld? If you haven't been on it before, it has been going for about 2 years, and it started with a group of friends who enjoyed really sharing new perspectives, new way of being, and what they were investigating in the world. You know, there's nothing better than a really good, rich, generative conversation like that, right? Well, we decided we wanted more people in on the conversation. So if you look at any of our previous videos, most of them have to do with interviewing or being in conversation with other people who are not part of this small group of collaborators. And then we started talking to each other again on CreateAWorld because it's fun. It's just plain fun. And it gives us an opportunity to investigate ideas together. And with your input from your conversations, we get more ideas. So I am Electra Porzel. I have a healing practice and I am director of the Language of Consciousness Institute. Liz, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Liz Geyer, and I have a business called Nurturing Transformation. I'm working with children, and also I work with Electra at the Institute, uh, teaching the language of creation templates. And yes, so I'm very happy to be here in conversation with Electra today.
Yes, we have lots of good conversations, and this is just one of them that's being recorded. One of
Yes.
the things, and you heard one of the magic words here is the language of creation templates. And they're a sacred tool for accessing consciousness. And we have been working with this 10 years, 11 years, to help people be able to utilize these templates right there, what we call creation exercises, so that they can access deeper and deeper levels of consciousness, higher and lower dimensions of beingness. And if you look at this reality that we're in, it's what, the third dimension? And there are many, many dimensions of intelligence in the universe. And these creation exercises help you access your deepest wisdom as a spirit and your ability to be in alignment with and conversation with creation. And it releases us in a lot of ways from this third dimension reality, because the third dimension reality is, from my perspective, is about separation. And it's not about you being, me being, Liz being, in conversation with our larger spirit or creation. It isn't about creating. It isn't. The reality of unity is not about creating a world that works for everybody. And one of the tenets of it is that we're creating a world where everyone is included. A world where there is the sacred of each person is honored. Liz, how would you describe that, what we're trying to create with giving people access to the use of the templates?
Well, the use of the templates is creating a life enhancement, right?
Mhm.
So when we're working with the creation templates, we're always using life enhancing language. Um, and you could say that's very much like an affirmation, but it goes farther than that. Um, because what they do is they help us to get in touch with um, many different aspects of ourselves that we didn't know existed. We don't just necessarily have one aspect of ourselves, we have many. We have maybe one aspect that's wiser than some of the others. But it really helps us to get in touch with our own inner wisdom. And so, and also the two observation exercises give us direction and help us to see where we are in the moment. And those two exercises allow us to just really get raw and see what there is to see in the moment. And it might not be that we're in such a great place. And so we can give wherever we are a place. And that's one of the tenets that uh, in CreateAWorld is my favorite because everything should be honored and given a place, even the deepest, darkest anger that we might hold in any given situation, that anger be honored and respected and given a place so that then we can move forward, continue to move forward. So that's just it's a beautiful space. It's a sacred space that we create when we're writing these, and um, it's a beautiful place to be with ourselves and to get to just really simply to get to know who we are to ourselves.
And get to know the more of who we are.
Yes.
We have one of the things that we all have is an idea of who we are. We have called our historic I, right? I've always been this way, that kind of language. And the truth is, we don't know all of who we are. We have no idea. We are limited by the historical information, that feedback we've gotten about ourselves, or feedback about from how we have been, as if it stays that way. First of all, if you do nothing else, you're growing in life and you change. When I was 6, my family, my father was giving my mother a watch for Christmas. And as any 6-year-old, I was like, I want to give mommy some hints. So I didn't think they were that direct, but they were. It ticks and you wear it on your wrist. Okay. But how this has anything to do with what we're talking about is that my family, even when I became an adult, would say, well, you can't tell Electra a secret because she's going to tell. Really? I was 6. But sometimes families do that, right? Sometimes friends do us. They hold you in a box. Well, this is how you are. And sometimes we do it to ourselves. Oh, that's just how I am. And the truth is, there is so much more to us because we are not limited. Our mind right now is kind of limited by what the reality of separation has told you is the box you're supposed to be in, has given you facts about how the world is. And the truth is that's a bare minuscule part of the capacity of a human being and the capacity of your spirit to be in the world. And the magnificent thing about the creation exercises is they give you access, that you have access to this larger part of you, something we call a meta mind. And that meta mind holds a lot the access to your spirit and all that you can be in the world. One of the ways that we know that when we are in our historic reality of separation self is when we write, we experience our sentient intelligence. And that's one of the topics that we wanted to cover today was sentience. But sentience is an experience, first of all. Sentient intelligence is an experience. Everything that you've learned in school and the world is what we would call intellect. So there isn't a programmed mental bridge to get to where you want to be when you write your creation exercises, which is using a template. And as Liz said, filling it with life enhancing, life generating phrases that are your phrases. They're not ones that Liz and I have sold you as the list of life generating phrases. And that what makes it powerful, because you're first of all starting with what you're craving. And I would say your sentience starts there, because there's something in you, maybe it's in your gut, that says, this is what I really crave in the world. And I want that. So if you were writing an intention, it would be one phrase. When you write a creation exercises, it's 12 phrases. And they're different every time you write. So if you are saying craving happiness, the next phrase is creates. Well, what would it create? Well, it isn't a mental process of saying, oh, okay, the world says happiness should have this content. You're receiving an experience from your sentient intelligence, which out of all the possibilities of phrases that would mean something to you, one pops up or flows out of your writing. And as you continue this writing of your creation exercise, and the phrase that is just right, what does craving happiness have to create in my life? Not your life, not anybody else's life, but the life of the writer. It's an inward process and outward in that it goes through your hand and right into the paper, which starts to help you language that which you crave around happiness. So the next question you're asking yourself is, well, if I'm creating that, what would that sustain and maintain in my life? And I think there is an underlying assumption when you say you're craving something that you want it to sustain and maintain. You're not asking for something or craving something or desiring for it to be a momentary blip. You want it to sustain and maintain. And again, it's a life-enhancing phrases that appear and that you know it's just the right phrase by the response of the sentient intelligence within your body. So when I say that, I'm talking, for me, it can be a feeling in my gut that says, yeah, or just a knowing that that's the right phrase for this recursion. People experience it all different physicalities, from energy running through them, words popping up into their head, a different kind of sentience within their system. I know I'm repeating the word, but it is that intelligence that is part of our larger being that we get to be familiar with when we write the creation exercises. And why would that be important? What do you think is so important? Liz, what do you think?
Well, I love to use the compass. I have, my inner compass that I trust now through writing the creation exercises. It creates this sentience of knowing ourselves, and knowing that we can rely on this incredible sentient intelligence that we have. And of course, that comes over time. Um, when I first learned how to write these, um, every time I would write, so for example, I was thinking about what Electra was saying, craving happiness. I'm like, okay, what does that create? And I went to something like, it's still mulling around, but I saw myself as a younger child at Christmas time, right? The feeling of my inner child's excitement, child's excitement. Um, you know, that's what that word elicits, that ether, that feeling. Um, so then creating my the feeling of my inner child's excitement. Well, what does that sustain and maintain over time? Because that's what I think of over time. So what does my sentient intelligence want me to know about that right now? And let's see, what would that sustain? Well, a vibrancy for life, a vibrancy for living, right? Because for me, I experience that excitement as, I don't know, all these things pop up, right? Like bright lights, colorful lights, and people gathering. And so I get this whole slideshow in front of me of things that are elicited, and that's my sentient intelligence speaking to me. So I hope that kind of answers your question. I was going back to the book, The Mind of Creation, because you as the mind of creation, right here, there's a chapter on sentient intelligence. And and when we're writing the creation exercises, when you begin to write them more over time, then you begin to trust, which Electra talked a little bit about the meta self and the meta mind. Well, that's, that we have many aspects. So meta is means to go beyond and go into more. We have many aspects. And this is so if in the writing you're writing, the slideshow comes across. That's for me, I'm very visual. So I get the slideshow coming across and then the language comes in after that. Um, so that it's a phenomenon that's created uh, as we're writing and we learn to trust our sentient intelligence, which I talked about. And in the book, it says this is the phenomenon of meta self, the I know because I know without needing to understand what you know or question its value. So, and that's the trust that you build as you're using this sacred tool, because I trust. I see these slideshows of bright lights and gathering family and hot cocoa and, all those good things during this season. And it gives me this warm and fuzzy feeling. And I know um, that for me is a vibrancy of life. I just know because I know. And it doesn't matter if Joe sitting next to me is down in the mouth and not happy and whatever. I know because I know. And I don't need to turn to Joe and say, you need to feel this or whatever. I just know. Um, so she writes, this exquisite intelligence wells up from deep inside, meeting what is coming to meet you from the etheric or the non physical or non human realms. It's impossible to ignore. I mean, if you guys saw the smile on Electra's face when I went into the whole slideshow thing, right? That's that feeling that wells up. That's our sentient intelligence speaking to us, right? So it's for me, it's so exciting to have discovered this in myself, that I was more than just a human being walking around on the planet, um, teaching children and singing in a choir. And I mean, those two things in themselves are to me magical, but still, I'm just saying, not that our sentient intelligence is extraordinary. It's very sacred and extraordinary. So over to you, Electra.
Well, that's why we call it sacred. And it really is important to remember that it's not just a writing exercise, because you've probably learned a lot of learned a lot of different tools to be able to expand how you be in the world. This is a sacred tool, which gives you access to an intelligence which comes from your larger being. And it gives you access to creation. And we use the term creation for God, Goddess, Great Spirit, Allah, whichever word people use for their source being. The reason I wanted to talk about this today was we had a conversation with a woman from Damanhur. And Damanhur is a spiritual community, eco-spiritual community in Italy, about dreaming and how the way that her group works with dreaming, they use their sentience understanding of when you're in the dream time, because the dream time gives you access from the work that they do, gives them access to the higher dimensions of reality, to their larger being. And that's what the creation exercises do. So there's this, when we dream, we have access to the ethos, sorry. And in that access, we become aware of the greater parts of ourselves, our own larger being actively at work here. And if you've always, I don't know, I've always thought that I want more of the spirit of who I am active in my life. I want less of, or crave less of, my historic beingness kind of acting out in my life, because I don't need that anymore. In the case of our principles, that historic part's always there. It's not like I'm eliminating it. I know it's there, but I don't need to dominate how I do with the world. I think the dreaming exercise that this group does gives them access to the same ethers that we get access through the creation exercises. Very different ways of doing it. They use breathing, they use setting the stage, sort of. I haven't taken the course, so I can't tell you. But it's really interesting how we all use different tools to access our meta self, the larger parts of us, not just repeating what we've been, but moving forward into who we can be or want to be. And the experience, if we look into our experience of sentience, its imagination, its sensitivity, its sensation, and as we access that, it's accessing more than your physicality. Like for me, it's a lot of gut stuff. Everything's related to, if my gut tells me this is the right decision to make or the right phrase to write, I absolutely know it. It's just, there's no question about it. I don't second guess the phrases that I put in, because my gut intelligence, my sentient intelligence tells me this is just the right phrase for me to build this recursion so I can put out into the world. And I think a craving is not just out to the world. It's a craving is a conversation with your source being, with creation. Creation likes direction, I think. And so when we're writing creation exercises, we utilize this larger intelligence that we have access to, which is your sentient intelligence, to confirm the phraseology or language that we use. But this whole, creation exercise has 4 recursions. 12 phrases that are life enhancing, life generating, and that are yours. They're nobody else's. So if you say, this is what I crave in the world, and this is what it looks like and feels like and sounds like, then creation has a better chance to work with you for what you want. There was a wonderful quote that Tantra put in a conversation group we have called Field of Tantra Ma. And it was by Nassim Abraham.
Aramane?
Yeah, okay. And in any case, he was saying that it's not just when you, let's say, make a request of creation for something to happen, the result is not just a direct link. Okay, this is what you want, I'll give it to you. It's the request of what you want, but also creation taking into consideration all of the requests that are out there. And so when we experience the manifestation of what we want, it's usually modified in a bit. And we didn't explicitly state. Well, the truth is, how could we possibly know was the best result? When we were little kids, right? We said, now I lay me down to sleep. And then you said, this is what I'd like. And you were very direct. In my case, I wanted a pony. And I lived in a city, which really wasn't reasonable. But that isn't what little kids do. I wanted a pony. Now, did I ever get the pony? No. And creation learned a lot more about me and what I craved and what would make my world a better world. And that's part of, I think, when we write creation exercises, we're utilizing a feedback system, which is the sentient intelligence informing us so that we can inform creation. And that's why it turns out to be a sacred tool. It's not just your everyday writing tool that somebody made. It was given to Tantra for these times so that we can connect more to our larger being, to those aspects of intelligence that are ours by birthright, but for some reason the human brain got limited to just this reality of separation. And they enwhole us in a way that I don't think anything else can. We have to we don't have to, I'll take that back, but it gives you the opportunity to connect with all the energies and dimensions that are present in the universe. Instead of thinking this reality is all there is.
I have to quote something that really struck me that Dominic was talking about that speaks to what you just said. And that is a whale has, in one hemisphere, a whale is dreaming and living in that dream world, so to speak. And in the other hemisphere is existing in a quote, daytime reality, more practical reality. And to me, by being in practice weekly with the creation exercises, that's what I experience. That, there's always one aspect or one or more aspects of this sentient being accessing the practical everyday day reality of what there is to be. And then the other aspects of me are, in this quote dream that the creation exercises have shown me to be in. Because as you write them, they not they you take them in internally into your being. They also ripple out into the what I call the universe. Um, and so our writing them not only informs our being and allows us to exist in our own sentient intelligence, that they also ripple out to others. And sometimes you might notice that something you've been craving internally uh, might manifest out uh, into the world, and you didn't even know that that happened. And then all of a sudden something happens, which something like that happened to me last night. I had an experience where there's been some tension with my children, and something occurred last night where I saw that there was a shift in the energy between my children, such that now we're going to gather together and go to an event together. Well, I've been craving, right? I've been craving harmony. That's part of what's been part of my sentient activity, craving harmony within my family, and living as that, living in that harmony. And look what happened, so it's like, you didn't get your pony, but yet I'm sure if you were to go and look at, other experiences that you had around you, that there were other things that occurred in your life that, you know, created that harmony with the pony that you didn't realize what happened. So, um, so I just love that about the whale. That really struck me, that a whale lives in the both and being their sentient reality and their practical daytime, everyday reality. So, the other thing is that they really pay attention to their dreams, and that that yes, dreams are a reality of being. And I notice also that our dreams, at least in this area of the universe, my local area of the universe, are really informing us right now of um, that which is no longer needed. Like, yeah, you were talking about that earlier, Electra. Um, we're being shown that which is no longer needed through our dreams. Uh, and then new new ethers are coming in, new ways of being are coming in, which is kind of exciting. So, um, let's see what else.
Well, what was coming to my mind was one of the things that are arising is people trusting that their dreams are actually having something to say to them.
Mhm.
You know, it's not just a physical function of the brain regurgitating itself. We do something like we work with Dominaher, and they have some of the members of our group, of a small section of us, that are with Dominaher also have spheres, and the spheres assist them in another way of connecting with the larger intelligences around us. Well, we all dream before and after they do that. And in that, what we call collective dreaming, we start to see more information. So everybody gets a piece of the pie, and then you put them together and go, oh, look, there is a communication going on between us in the dream time that unless we had written it down and we'd said it, we wouldn't have really realized that that level of the higher intelligence was going on. And in that, we get information, at least about what we are doing and why we're doing it and the effect of it in the world. I believe the other Dom and her group does collective dreaming as well. In other words, they, once you can move yourself into that, I would say they must move into their meta mind, into the ethers, then communication happens in the dream time, which is at a higher level and a deeper level than texting somebody or writing an email. We're accessing the deeper parts of ourselves that live and come from worlds of unity. And we, in those conversations, our mental mind starts to be able to language the connections that exist between each other on a higher level and with creation, with spirit. And I hadn't, before I listened to them, I really didn't understand how sentience interacted in their world. And I really believe it's the same. They utilize it the same as we do. They start to understand how their own body and their emotions and their, I guess it's physical. I'm using the word physicality, which to me is more than just your body. But when they utilize that, I believe, in affirming that they're on track, affirming that information that comes in, their system, their sentient intelligence is telling them that you're on track. So it's like we have so many ways that are being given to us to be more with our larger being and creation. And we have to make use of them. Like if I wanted to do the dreaming route, I'd probably take their course. So I have ways of learning to really pay attention to my system and drop into the dream time with intention and direction. We use the same information from the body, the mind, and the spirit to drop into our creation exercises and write the future that we crave. And it's so important that human beings move beyond the historic and open themselves up to the more of who they are and the connection with creation. It's like creation. When I go into meditation, I say I am one with creation, and this energy moves in and around me. And I know that energy is always there, right? I mean, would it not be not there? But my sentient experience in meditation reminds me how much creation is there to support me. And nobody has to do meditation my way. In fact, one of the things I think that we like about the creation exercises is that we're just giving you the template, hon. You decide what a life-enhancing, life-generating world is for you. And that will make all the difference. Just like the poem. You know, you walk a different path. Once you start opening up to the more of who you are, your experience shifts. Liz?
Yeah, I was just looking at some comments here, that it's so exciting to know that whether I'm dreaming or whether I'm writing a creation exercise, that my thoughts have the power to create something new. And even over the last 12 years, I hadn't always trusted that. Well, now I do. That that these dreams that I have, without knowing, I may not know exactly what I'm creating here or exactly how to create what I want to create, but just by having the thought and writing it in a craving exercise or writing it in a creation exercise, that having that thought leads to something new. And that's powerful. So you guys have probably all heard so many other people say, be careful what you're thinking right now, because what we think can't becomes reality. And so I think it's a beautiful thing to uh, have these life generating thoughts running through our systems. Um, Kristen was talking here about the fact that she had an amazing clairaudient dreaming event, that her grandmother and her cousin were as clear and present as this very relevant and correlate conversation. So, that's like, to me, that's like bringing another incredible ingredient into a recipe, and having that the magic of what's going to come out of it, you know, enhanced. So thank you, Kristen. And Lisa said that she appreciated increased understanding of manifestation dynamics. So, um, one of the things that Dominher said that struck me and that I just kind of spoke to in a vague way was in Dominher they created these amazing temples. I mean, just jaw dropping. You walk into them, they're underground temples that were created because someone dreamed. They didn't know what they were doing. They had no clue. They were digging dirt with shovels, rock and dirt out of the ground, and because of their dreams, these amazing temples were created. And that came, through collective dreaming and thought. And um, they are this huge inspiration for people today. So that came out of a group of people dreaming together. Um, and so that's it's just an incredible thing when we're writing our templates that a thought comes in that we have no idea where it came from, other than now we know it's our higher being or our larger being, as you say, Electra, or as I say, another aspect, a wise aspect of ourselves informing us. We just don't know how powerful those little one-liners that we're creating are. Um, and so treating each one with care and respect, each thought, uh, to me is very, very important right now. Very important. Thoughts drop in out of the blue sometimes. And when that happens, I really pay attention now, uh, because my sentient intelligence is tapping me on the shoulder saying, okay, pay attention to this awareness. Um, so this sentience that we're coming to really trust is this deeper awareness of who we are and also what's happening out in the world. Um, the other thing that I love is that our sentient intelligence helps us to see different perspectives on things and to open us up into a whole new world of thinking that we hadn't been with before. So for me, that's really exciting.
Well, isn't it that if you've written and if you've been writing creation exercises for days, months, years, which a lot of us have, I think a lot of times there's a cumulative effect. Like you may forget that you have written one on a certain topic or how those topics may interact, but there's a larger intelligence of yourself or of a higher dimensional being that says those are connected. There's all aspects of anything that you want to be or do. And we've given a lot of information to the universe to say, these are all of the aspects of what I want in the world. And I think sometimes phrases and ideas pop in because we have already fed the field. We've been giving a lot of information to the spirit world, to the different ethers, to the dimensions about what we crave in the world, in our lives. And I believe sometimes you don't realize it's not like someone may come in, you may hear a quote from somebody or a song from somebody, or meet somebody surprising what you think is like, why would you have met them? But I think it's all weaving together. So the more information that we give, the more creation exercises that we write, the better chance that we will have everything that we crave. Just because it's more of a conversation, it's more of an informing. It has to happen. Our end of the conversation has to happen more regularly. Because if you do it, like when you were a kid, you said, now I lay me down to sleep every night, right? Well, I don't know anybody who writes the creation exercises every day, but I'm thinking, well, if I just did that every day, the amount of information that I have and the ethers have becomes humongous. And the end product, or what manifests in the world, then is the combination, the magical combination of everything. Tantra's been talking about 3 words that are really, really important: access, ritual, and building. And if we want to build the world that we crave, we have to access through, and I think through writing the creation exercises is one of the vehicles to build the world that we crave. So you're accessing information, accessing relationship, being in conversation with, as part of making sure that we are more in alignment with creation than we ever were with the reality of separation. And then it turns. It's like where you're facing a direction, right, from the reality of separation. And the more that you do the rituals, your sense of direction is now always somewhere else. And you don't pay attention to the reality of separation as much. Things shift within, in the inner being of how I feel about being me in the world, of what I want to do and be in the world. And it's paying attention to whether you're going to do a regular dreaming practice or you write the creation exercises. I know there's other ways to do this, but it's critical that we not sit back and go, well, I can't do anything about it, because you can. What do you think, Liz?
We have a couple comments. One from Kristen,
Oh,
and Kristen, you might want to. I might need a little bit more from you. She said, Liz, I think you presence this dream. I wonder can say more about it. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure which dream. She said it's like rain. The quantum begins to rain down on the pieces of what have become what we pay attention to for the most part. So you were saying similar. And then Lisa said that a spiritual healer she worked with said things he made existed as blueprints in the spirit world, which I love. I love blueprints. Um, he accessed them and brought them into physical reality. Yes, definitely. We're each this incredible blueprint of existence, this beautiful blueprint or matrix, as I like to say. Um, so Kristen, maybe you can ping me. I'm not sure what I said, but along the same lines, I'm looking at this part in the sentient intelligence chapter, and it says the same thing, but I'll say it again. It says, your mind is designed to experience a sentient connection with all other sentient life forms on this planet. Your sentience is also designed to communicate with the vast creations of life in the universe. Life was never meant to be about overcoming the trauma of this reality. Life is designed to draw from the sentient universe so that you can be in your direct connection with creation in many expressions that catapult you beyond the simple need to survive. So I love that. I love that.
Beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And just it says, well, just for that, I do it, Not that I'm going to get my pony. um, the other thing and this conversation you were just having with Chris, and maybe that there are elements of what we were originally designed to be. And a lot of times we talk about the original design of human. That got aberrated at some point. And all the blueprints of that which had been can be pulled back in by us. That when we pay attention to the connections with creation and the other beings and the ethers, this expand, and I really think part of the expansion is it always has to be life enhancing. It always has to be life generating. But when we do that and we create this larger knowing of who we are, we provide the field within which that what was our original design can come back.
Yeah.
Now,
I sense that sometimes in our dreams, what I'm getting from here locally is there's aberration in the dreams, but that aberration is now, like you just said, it's being shifted into the original blueprint. So we're able to see and experience these things in our dreams and say, oh, no, not that. Not that. There's a different way of being now. So and that's how we are when we're writing the exercises, that we're in that direct connection. um that is, it's like following our compass. um I keep being, this is creation speaking here. Give your mind a chance to remember itself, right, a chance to restore its function so that you will no longer think anything is wrong with you. And so being in our deep sentient intelligence, we can, we can see the more of who we are. And I really like to that Chandra talked about that we're a kaleidoscope of being, because I see that, I said we have many aspects of self, right? They're this colorful kaleidoscope. Um, so now we have about 5 more minutes to kind of pull it together.
just like add then what can somebody do to expand out in their experience of what their sentience is, and then their experience of what it feels like to be more of who they are. I think, first of all, if you just say, look, I don't know, but I'm going to go with it, right? You can't, you're not going to get hurt by writing creation exercises. You're not going to be damaged by paying attention to your sentient intelligence. And you may get access to the larger world that exists and the larger being that you are. And you have to do it regularly. It's a ritual. And Tantra says that often. This is a human beings have utilized ritual for thousands upon thousands of years to gain greater connection to the greater world, whether that ritual is with knowing animals better and the earth better, or knowing the higher beings better. And if you do it, and if you do write them regularly, this is just one tool, a sacred tool, not an everyday I'm writing my recipe tool, but a sacred tool that truly, truly connects you to the larger world that you seek to be part of and the larger being that you want to be. What do you think they should be doing?
Yeah, what really rose and pinged me was contracting time with creation. That's part of the practices. I mean, even if you were to sit, if you're new to the practice of writing the creation exercises, um, you know, craving the possibility of being differently. So contracting that sacred time to be in a sacred practice to bring in the possibilities that you would love to see happen for yourself and others in the world. It kind of doesn't get any better than that. And bring your hot cocoa with you. I mean, wow, how cool is that?
And that is part of it. It's find a space where you can write.
Hmm. Yeah.
If tea works for you, good, do it. We just want to thank you very much for being on this call with us. We look forward to talking with you again, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yes. Yes, that's true. We won't be on till
We won't be
till
on until the
next.
day after
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
day after.